Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for accepting our invitation or for being here today to take part in this exciting workshop dedicated to the pressing issue of overtourism and to rural tourism, especially food and wine tourism, as a possible answer to the challenges of overcrowded destinations. Let me first express my heartfelt thanks to this wonderful venue for hosting us, to the Ambassador Vattani, to Professor Rossella Menegazzo, who is here today, and to the entire team who made today possible. My name is Cristian Pallone, and I will do my best to moderate today's sessions in a smooth and painless way so as to leave as much time as possible to our speakers. Just a quick reminder, my short introductions will be both in English and Japanese, while all presentations will be held in English. And now, without further ado, let me introduce the first speakers who will officially open today's program. 皆様、おはようございます。本日はご多忙の中、私たちの招待をお受けいただき、このワークショップにご参加くださいまして誠にありがとうございます。本ワークショップでは観光地の過密化という喫緊の課題、いわゆるオーバーツーリズムを取り上げ、特に食とワインを中心とした農村観光がこの解決策となりうる可能性について議論してまいります。まずはじめに、この素晴らしい会場で私たちを温かく迎えくださった皆様に心よりお礼申し上げます。また、お臨席いただいたメネガッツォ教授、そして本日の開催にご尽力くださったすべてのスタッフの皆様に深く感謝申し上げます。本日の進行役を務めさせていただきますパッローネと申します。できる限り円滑かつ痛みのない形でセッションを進め、発表者の方々に十分なお時間を確保できるよう努めたいと思っております。ご案内ですが、私の簡単なアナウンスは英語と日本語の両方で行いますが、発表はすべて英語となります。 それでは早速本日の研究会の開会にふさわしい登壇者を皆様にご招待いたします。Okay. I now ask to join me for the opening remarks Professor Flaminia Nicola, Vice Chancellor of the University of Bergamo for International Affairs. それではここで開会のご挨拶を賜りたく、ベルガモ大学国際担当副学長のフラミニア・ニコラ教授に挨拶のお願いをしたいと思います。
Thank you very much, Professor Pallone. I would like to give a warm welcome to our guests, to the people from the universities, our partners who wanted to be present for this event. Of course, my thanks go also to our ministry and to the colleagues who set up the project, to the Italian pavilion for hosting us. Because being at Expo is an opportunity, but also a responsibility. And Expo is a wonderful occasion for sharing ideas, sharing identities, sharing some ideas about future. And this is part exactly of our motto. When I go to foreign universities presenting our universities to explain and start perhaps an exchange activity, I quote a motto which is local identities and global challenges. And this is our vision and our mission. And when I came here to the pavilion the first time, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit, and I hope you'll have the opportunity to visit it as well in a short time. And I realized that in the pavilion there are two small pieces from Bergamo. One is a big painting from Caravaggio. Caravaggio is a painter who was born only a few miles from Bergamo. And the other is a piece of technology, is a brake from Brembo, a brand which is world famous and well renowned in the world. So one is the past and one is the future. And this is also what we mean to do as a university, bringing memories of the past, but also preparing young generations for the future. So we decided to come here and suggest a project which was well received. And this was about a topic which for us is relevant. It's a topic which is consistent with our vision of past and present, heritage and future, which is tourism and over-tourism and possible solutions. But we wanted to present this topic through a conference. A conference is not a way of showcasing your research. A conference is a way to start a dialogue. And we wanted to have at this dialogue people from Japan. We wanted to have colleagues from universities. We wanted to have students also participating to this event. And this is a way for us to bring to Osaka the vision, the mission of our university, which considers some issues like food and heritage as part of our identities, and also a way to think about the future of our communities. So this topic is also consistent with our new role as a part of a European alliance. We are part of a network of 10 universities in 9 European countries. It's called Bauhaus for You. And the points, the guiding lines of this alliance are the guidelines of the new European Bauhaus, which can be summarized in 3 words: beautiful, sustainable, and together. And again, heritage is a way to take care about what is beautiful and what comes from our past. But we all need to be sustainable and to work for the future, but together reflects the idea that we want to be a community within our local community, and the community helped us with a video that we will see outside the pavilion. So this is a great time for dialogue, for exchanging ideas, for exchanging best practices, and for starting something more. So we consider Expo 2025 not the destination we decided to come to, but the starting point for a next trip that we will make all together. So I wish you a very fruitful conference today. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And now I would like Professor Elisabetta Bani to come to the stage. She's Vice Chancellor of the University of Bergamo for Public Relations. 次に、PR 広報担当副学長のエリザベッタ・バニ教授にご挨拶の願いを申し上げます。
Thank you, Christian. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here today in an highly qualified symposium to share with you our research and best practice in the field of sustainable tourism and the promotion of excellences connected within rural tourism as well as the food and wine tourism. The University of Bergamo has strong ties with its territory, and it has never lived separated and indifferent to the vocations on the territory in which it operates. It is not coincidence that our university was established to accompany the opening up of the local economy towards foreign countries. And the first courses we taught were those of foreign languages and then those of economics and commerce. It was not by chance that the university was born from a project imagined by the city's institutions, conceived as, I quote, an engine for Città Alta. Città Alta is the upper city on the hill where the university was located at that time, and then proved itself to be a catalyst for development of the territory. In the last years, the synergy between the University of Bergamo and the local institutions, both public and private, has become increasingly strong and conscious. University takes part in round tables where local authorities and the representatives of the economic categories tackle the problems looming on the horizon to identify altogether possible solutions, linking concrete problems and scientific research in a dialogue that fertilizes both. One of the areas in which we can now reap the benefits of this ability to intercept local needs and translate them into scientific research and international cooperation of the highest rank is precisely that of tourism in all its forms, particularly that of sustainability. We are therefore proud to have been selected by the Italian Ministry of the University to divulge what we do in dialogue with our highly esteemed Japanese colleagues on this issue and to present not only our research, but also to promote the good practices of our territory and our country. If we have reached these goals, it is also thanks to our researchers who were able to intercept the challenges that the area presented, with its potential to be brought out, and some critical issues to be turned into opportunities, and were able to develop them into research with a great social and economic impact. We are here thanks to teamwork developed over time with international colleagues and with local authorities and economic operators, some of whom are present here today, others who have supported us and whom we are virtually taking with us today in the video projected outside the pavilion. To all these teammates goes my thanks, and to all of you here present, my wish to share with us reflections and enthusiasm for good research that which generates public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bani. Thank you, Professor Bani. And lastly, for these opening remarks, I would like to invite to the floor Professor Rossella Menegazzo, who is our kind host today, for a ご挨拶。では、イタリア館のメネガッツォ先生、今日温かく歓迎くださったメネガッツォ先生にご挨拶をお願い申し上げます。
Grazie, grazie mille. Buongiorno a tutti. And thank you for coming to Italy Pavilion again. Maybe somebody has just come and visited the visitor experience of the pavilion. If you didn't yet, I hope you will when we finish the session. I'm very honored and happy to have here the University of Bergamo, especially because we have also a very profound and long-term friendship and collaboration with Professor Christian Pallone. You know, we are both specialized in Japanese art and literature, and so we are making a lot of efforts to bring also Japanese culture and all the beauty of this country to Italy, and not only to Italy, through catalogs, through exhibitions and symposiums. So today is really a special day to host Bergamo University, also with vice rectors, Professor Flaminia Nicora and Elisabetta Bani, and all the professors collaborating from Italy, from Bergamo, and also from Japanese universities. I know that we have some special guests coming from 12. You know that to enter Expo is not so easy, so we have some guests late this morning, but we are waiting for them for the next session. And I only would like to say that this kind of proposal, speaking about rural tourism and this comparative perspective, is one of the point of views that and approaches that we also gave to our visitor experience in the pavilion. We are developing a big and long program every day, both here in the auditorium, hosting 18 out of 20 regions that each week are exchanging and showing their rural traditions, their local costumes through music, arts, masterpieces of art. This week you can see Molise. Today is the last day of Molise region, and you will see a beautiful Venus in marble added to all the other masterpieces that we have from other regions of Italy. So I invite you also to visit this regional space. And this regional spaces, which is changing every week, follows all the other sections of this pavilion, which is, I could say, a living pavilion, un padiglione vivente, because it's in progress, like the Duomo of Milano. There is no end, there is always one start every week, with new works coming, with new universities, new regions, new stakeholders speaking here in this space with through workshops, symposiums, conference, talk, and B2B. So for meeting for professionals, but also for amateurs of our Italian culture. And there are two main approaches, two main offers on which we are concentrating. One is to show Italian culture and Italian beauty through very real masterpieces. The public coming to visit Italy Pavilion that you saw, we have hours of queuing to see the pavilion. I hope it has a value to queue because we are really showing masterpieces from the ancient art history, starting from Leonardo da Vinci Codex Atlanticus, coming from the Ambrosiana, of which we are showing 4 sheets from this beautiful masterpiece, speaking not only about art, but speaking about art, creativity, science, and vision. This is the point. We have the Atlas Farnese in the middle of the space of the pavilion, and we are speaking about Roman period, beautiful sculpture as the Venus from Molise. And we have a beautiful Michelangelo who added to these masterpieces, who was brought from Lazio region. And we have the Caravaggio, the beautiful Caravaggio, the only one Caravaggio coming from the Vatican museums, and who is filling the space of the Holy See, which adds another point to this art experience, which is also this, how can I say, calm and silent space where to have some rest in front of this beautiful masterpiece. And then we have another point, which is Tintoretto, who depicted the first and beautiful portrait of Ito Mancho, a young Japanese, a teenager Japanese, that in 1585 went to Italy and marked all of the most important cities to go to Rome to bring homage to the Pope with some other young samurais. And this portrait is not only a masterpiece of art, but it shows how deep the relations between our countries, Japan and Italy, are. So in this context, to have also this discussion, this dialogue, who is adding another piece of all the narration of this auditorium to the rural traditions, speaking about tourism, I think means a lot to complete all this offer. We have in the theater every day, and this is another big challenge, an offer from the regions about music, dance, rural traditions and costumes, with living treasures, with living live performances. And this is another point linked also to tourism experience. And then at the 3rd floor, we have the restaurant offering, and also our small bar near the pavilion offering food and gastronomic special experiences. And this is also linked to the real Italian travel and tourism experience. So the hope is really to give also in this space, which is in an artificial island of Japan, a true experience of the beauty of Italy. And maybe somebody who never came yet to Italy will come, and I hope they will follow this suggestion that you will give for a very calm, small, and detailed tourism, not a mass tourism, but a very personal and individual walk through Italy. So thank you for today's session, panel, and have a nice day and nice work. Grazie mille.
Thank you very much. Okay, now that the workshop has been officially opened, I would like to give the floor to the person who we could truly call the mind behind all of this, Roberta Garibaldi. She will offer us an overview of the key issues and the main directions that this workshop aims to explore. Roberta needs no introduction, but allow me to briefly highlight that she is a colleague from our Department of Languages, where she teaches tourism management. She has been the editor of the annual report on food and wine tourism in Italy for several years now. And among her many distinguished roles, she has served as vice president of the OECD Tourism Committee and as CEO of ENIT, the Italian National Tourism Board. Her talk will be followed by a video presentation offering further introductory insights prepared by Giovan Battista Palumbo, coordinator of Eurispes Laboratory on Fiscal Policies. He's a lawyer, public executive, professor, expert in tax law and fiscal policies. これでワークショップは正式に開会いたしました。ここで本ワークショップの中心的存在ともいえるロベルタ・ガリバルディ教授にご登壇いただきたいと思います。このワークショップが取り組む重要な課題や今後の方向性についてなどシナリオ分析をこれから行います。ガリバルディ先生はもはやご紹介の必要もないほど著名な研究者ですが、簡単に経歴を紹介させていただきます。先生は私たちの外国語学科の同僚であり、ツーリズムマネジメントを担当しています。また、イタリアにおける食とワインのツーリズムに関する年次報告書を長年にわたり監修しており、さらに OECD 経済協力開発機構観光委員会の副機長と、そしてイタリア政府観光局の CEO を歴年しました。ガリバルディ氏の講演に続き、さらなる導入的視点を提供するビデオプレゼンテーションをご覧いただきます。プレゼンテーションを準備してくださいましたのは、ジョバン・バティスタ・パルンボ氏です。氏はエウリスペス研究所のコーディネーターであり、弁護士、公務員、大学教授として活躍されており、租税法及び再生政策の専門家としても知られています。どうぞお願いします。
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for you to be here. And the idea of this conference was started from analyzing our two countries and how they are similar. I give you in the beginning some data from Italy, where we can see that around 43 of international tourists stayed in 6 provinces in Italy. And so we have some cities that you all know as Rome, Venice, Florence, Naples, Milan, where quite all the tourists, international tourists, go when they arrive to Italy. And, but we have a wonderful country, and we can see that we have a natural solution that is developing rural tourism through gastronomy. And we can see the same situation in Japan. And this was why we thought to organize this moment to exchange best practice, researches, and perhaps start to do some new researches together. As we see in the first session, we see that we already have a comparative research between Venice and Kyoto, and this could be an example of what we can do to find solution together of this important topic for the future, because we all know that we wait to have a great increase in number of tourists in next years, because naturally this is happening because a lot of people in the world start to travel, and so we have a lot of people from China, from India that will go abroad, and we'll see naturally an increase of number of tourists in the next year. And then we need to have strategies, because we cannot only have tourism in our countries. And so we have to do something. And we see that the data that show that something is already happening. So we can see, for example, in Italy we have a peak season of tourism that is June, July, August, and September. But we see in the last 10 years that we spread the tourism along the year. And then we have a big increase in January, February, March. And this will happen because people doesn't want to stay in crowded months. And we had the change of climate, as we saw in these months, these 2 months, for example, in Italy, we have really, really hot and will be very difficult to stay in Italy. In fact, we saw this year an increased attention to international tourists to the north of Europe, where it is more cold. And so this is something that will change strongly the situation of tourism in next years. And we see an example of over-tourism in Venice. And we see that we have about 25 million of tourists and same-day visitors per year. And 70% stay only for a few hours, and we have only 250,000 inhabitants. And so this is what we have, but and we can see the situation of European travelers. This is a new research of July 2025 of European Travel Commission. And we can see the main concerns of European travelers for their summer and autumn holidays in 2025. And then we can see at third place in the main concern for their travel. And we can see too many visitors at the destination I want to visit. And then it was at the 7th place last year, and now it's the 4th place. So, and we can see, this is one of my research, we can see the perception of over-tourism among Italian tourists. And you can see the data here. The Italian travelers also concerned about this topic. So it's a focus. If you analyze the media in Europe, you can see a lot of publication about this. And in Spain, we have a great, I can see fight. It's a strong word, but we can see the conflicts between inhabitants and tourists that is quite strong in the last 2 or 3 years. And so we have to think to do something. And in today's conference, we want to analyze in we can see in the morning a lot of solution, because the morning is organized to analyze what to do in the cities that are in over-tourism, and we can see some solutions starting from AI to go to regulation of entrance and different model of governance and so on. And in the afternoon, we'll focus how we can use gastronomy in rural areas to bring the people out of the main destination. And this is something that can strongly characterize our 2 countries. And you can see some data of the European Travel Commission, most wanted activities types to try to Europe in summer 2025. You can see from overseas country to Europe. We can see at the 2nd place, culinary discoveries. At the 1st place, cultural and heritage exploration. So it is at 2nd place for the people outside Europe that they want to arrive to Europe. And you can see instead this is the situation from European tourists in Europe. You can see at the 1st place, enjoy natural landscape. This is the 1st place after COVID in quite all the interviews that European Travel Commission did. So we don't want any more crowded places. We want natural landscape. And at the 2nd place, gastronomy experiences. So we can see that it's really, really a strong topic among all tourists. And here, 2 of the many research that analyze the trend topic of the year in tourism, and we can see that gastronomy is one of the main topic. I am in a working group between UNWTO, United Nations Tourism Agency, and OIVO, and we analyze that, for example, 20 countries now have a national plan on wine tourism, because a lot of countries are working on this topic that is growing so fast. And so this is why we defined this, and I say thank you to all the contributors that we can see along this day, and I'll be again with you at the beginning of the afternoon giving a presentation of the main trends relating to food and wine tourism in Italy. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Joan Battista Palumbo, member of the Euryspace Scientific Committee and director of a recent study about the subject of overtourism. Today, I would like to share some thoughts on this topic, which I hope will be of interest to you. Overtourism is a term that gives tourism a negative connotation, now generally perceived, and indicates a phenomenon that must be governed in order to prevent its degeneration from continuing. Overtourism is a word that evokes alarm and fear, coined in 2016. In a United Nations document about overtourism, this phenomenon is defined as the impact of tourism or part of it that in a destination excessively influences the quality of life perceived by citizens and or the quality of the visitor experience in a negative way. The causes of the phenomenon, which has led to an uncontrolled influx of tourists, are due to several factors, including increasing affordable transportation, the spread of cruise tourism, the lengthening of the high season, the spread of the sharing economy. If we were to rank the urban destination most affected by overtourism, Dubrovnik would be in first place, followed by Venice and Macau. Rome is also in the top 15, in the 13th place, just before Paris at 12. And if we make a projection for 2030, Venice will see a 26% increase in tourist crowds, which is still well below other destinations such as Marrakesh, Amsterdam, Dubrovnik, and Macau. Things are no better in the Canary Islands, where with 2 million inhabitants, we have 40 million of tourists arriving each year. The unsustainable growth of tourism, combined with real estate speculation, is putting a strain on the island. For this reason, on April 2024, tens of thousands of people marched shouting "Canarias tiene un limite." That means the Canary Islands have a limit. Yet, before becoming unsustainable, tourism had lifted the Canary Island archipelago out of extreme poverty and led to a rapid economic growth with a 9.3% increase in gross domestic product in 2022, double the Spanish national average of 4.4%, which continues to grow steadily. In 2022, tourism in the Canary Islands brought in almost 70 billion of euro. The sector employs 40% of the workforce, and however, almost 34% of the local population is at risk of poverty and social exclusion. In fact, the lack of regulation or real estate investment is causing house prices to rise. The number of visitors in relation to the number of official inhabitants is depleting the resource of the archipelago. And the situation is the same in the rest of Europe and in the rest of the world. There is no doubt that tourism is one of the most important industries of the centuries and one of the most significant and characteristic of Italy especially. This is also because Italy, perhaps the only country in the world, offers countless types of tourism: cultural tourism, beach tourism, mountain tourism, religious tourism, food and wine tourism. Few countries can offer so much. The problem is that we are increasingly witnessing a model of mass tourism made up of moments and memories accumulated on a smartphone, guardian of moments that are easily and quickly forgotten. Yet, there is no doubt that tourism is a positive phenomenon from a cultural, social, and economic point of view. And however, there is no doubt that if left unregulated, the phenomenon risks causing negative externalities, not only economic. Staying in Italy, Florence, I am from Florence and now I am in Florence, and all the other cities of art of Italy, starting with Rome and Venice, represent a significant part of the national identity and history. And eat and run tourism risks affecting that identity and history. In order to prevent these identities from being extinguished, a solution then must be found. Therefore, in order to manage tourist flows, a genuine national strategy would be appropriate. For example, creating a circuit of itineraries capable of developing slow tourism, even outside the more traditional circuits. The problem, as mentioned, is that two very different needs and protection clash here, that of private property and that of social cohesion. The solution is to stop the degeneration of tourism, not tourism itself. The problem of overtourism is, in essence, now a problem of real cultural and sociological deviation. So the perspective needs to be reversed.
Okay. This morning panel, as Roberta Garibaldi just told us, will be thoroughly dedicated to the analysis of the phenomenon of overtourism and its public attempts to manage tourism trends in overcrowded areas. So let me briefly introduce the first two speakers of this morning, Tsutsisa Dilshan and Nakabasami Chieko. Chieko is professor in the Faculty of International Tourism Management at Toyo University, and her research fields include cultural tourism and multicultural communication. Tsutsisa is a young researcher whose interests lay on the theme of over-tourism management in heritage sites. Today's topic addressed will be governance strategies of over-tourism, learning lessons from Venice and Kyoto to mitigate tourism gentrification. ではガリバルディ先生がおっしゃった通り、本日午前中のパネルではオーバーツーリズムという現象を多角的に分析し、特に観光が過密化する地域における公的なマネジメントの取り組みに終点を当てて議論を進めてまいります。それでは最初の2名の発表者をご紹介いたします。Tsutsisa Dilshan氏、そして中羽千恵子先生です。中羽先生は東洋大学国際観光学部の教授であり、専門分野は文化観光及び多文化コミュニケーションです。Tsutsisa氏はヘリテージサイトにおけるオーバーツーリズムのマネジメントを研究テーマとする若手研究者です。本日お二人が取り上げるテーマはオーバーツーリズムのガバナンス戦略、観光ジェントリフィケーションを緩和するためにベネチアと京都のケースから学べることです。よろしくお願いします。
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to thanks for the kind introduction for us. It's a great pleasure to being here today with you all. Let's get started with my presentation. So today I'm going to talk about the governance strategies of over-tourism, learning lessons from the Venice and Kyoto to mitigate tourism gentrification. So I'm a PhD candidate in the Faculty of International Tourism Management at Toyo University. So let's have a round around this presentation. This is the outline. As you all know, tourism is a booming industry and one of the main source of income in many countries all around the world. According to the UNWTO statistic, 1.5 billion of international tourists were recorded in 2019. It make create a number of destinations overcrowded like Barcelona, Amsterdam, and the Venice. And simply over-tourism occurs when a destination becomes overwhelmed with visitors. It's beyond carrying capacity. So, and these over-tourism issues create a number of issues on the environment, local community, and also the visitors' experiences. So this is not a new phenomenon. We can say the over-tourism is a new term for the whole problem. However, we want to plan this. Unless if you cannot plan the over-tourism issues, it will be create another over-tourism destination all around the world, especially in this post-COVID era. So we can get good examples from the recent past when you consider about the last year. Since last year, number of destinations become overwhelmed with crowded destinations. For an example, Spain. So it's one of the best example. Because of this importance of over-tourism, even UNWTO has addressed this issue in different way. According to them, over-tourism is the impact of tourism on a destination or part of thereof that excessively influence the perceived quality of life of the citizen, local people, or the quality of visitors' experience in a negative way. All right, now I think you have a good idea about over-tourism. Then I will briefly explain about the gentrification, especially the tourism gentrification. So tourism gentrification is the transformation of neighborhood or the urban areas due to an influx of tourists. It has both positive and negative impact. Considering the negative impact, ultimately the destination, the people in the destination can be displaced from the residents, or even the businesses can be displaced into the new destinations. So because of these things, the destination management entities, they are working a lot in implementing strategies to mitigate these kind of issues. Based on that, my research is focused on to the identify the effective management strategies on over-tourism issues. All right, then now I think you have idea about what is over-tourism and the tourism gentrification simply. Then I will explain the two study sites. I think no need to go much beyond, but just Venice, especially both of these destinations are having the UNESCO World Heritage Sites and suffering from over-tourism for few years. So Venice is located in the Veneto region in the northern Italy. Many attractions in Venice has been identified as overcrowded destinations like St. Mark Basilica, George Palace, and so on. So especially negative impact of over-tourism has created a number of conflict in between the tourists and also the local community. Especially we have to think about the displacement or the depopulation in Venice heritage sites compared to 1952. You can see 72% of local inhabitants has been displaced or depopulated in this area. As a result of that, number of strategies has been introduced by the local government with the central government. So one of the best and the recent example is introducing €5 entry fee for the day trippers, as previous speaker Professor Roberto has mentioned. So most of them are day trippers out of around 70%. So this is one of the good strategy. Considering the Kyoto is one of the oldest municipality in Japan and famous for numerous Buddhist temples, imperial palaces, and Shinto shrines, including 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Kyoto also has identified as an over-touristic destination by many researchers in the recent past. So as a result, Kyoto also implemented a number of strategies like promoting hand-free sightseeing, I will explain later, then introduce special sightseeing buses and promoting unpopular places. Then we will move to the main part of this study, interviews, to identify the best strategies. I used the NVView analytical method to analyze the data from the two study sites. Let's go to Venice. So basically, I collect informations, the data with interviews with Municipality of Venice and the CISET Research Institute. So as you can see here, according to the interview analysis, you can see the major advantages for the local community based on the tourism is employment opportunities, enhanced convenience, and the enhanced quality of life. Considering to the difficulties, it has like overcrowded queues everywhere, and mobility difficulties, especially for the water buses, and the price increasement, safety issues are there. Considering the governance strategies, you can see here, so they are implementing, impose the policies and regulations continuously based on the situation, and manage displacement, manage waste are the highlighted points during the study. Major observations are like historical sites like Murano, Burano, and the Lido are the major travel attractions or the destinations in Venice. One of the major insight I taken from this study is if you are over tourist destination, don't be late. Take the measures as soon as possible, because when you are promoting the destinations, when you are making a brand name, so it's forever. You cannot take it back. So you have to position well in the market. So one of the main strategy they are doing in Venice is collecting taxes in different sources like service providers or the travelers, and they are reusing this tax to enhance the quality of life of the people. And they have a price mechanism like different prices for the travelers and also for the local community. And they are promoting mainland for the accommodation like Mestre or the Treviso, because as you can see here in the picture, you can see the Venice area in the map. So in the second picture, you can see how the tourist rental houses are located in all the yellow dots. So almost everywhere it's a rental house, so it become a very big problem. So then I will take you into the data from the Kyoto. So I collected the data mainly from the major people who are controlling or manage the destination like Kyoto City Hall, Industry Tourism, Bureau Tourism, MICE Promotion Office. So advantages are pretty similar compared to Venice, and considering the difficulties, I identified that some different issues, difficulties like illegal entries to the local area. Basically, tourists, they don't know whether it's a private or the public area. They try to enter there and take the pictures, illegal photography, and also like make noises. So based on the culture, it can be different problem. Governance strategies like I realized that basically Kyoto has doing much awareness and the training programs. So kind of ethics for the visitors to aware that you are entering to the local environment and people have their own real life there, and giving support to the residents and manage mobility are highlighted. As observations, so basically they are promoting the day pass for the city buses and the subways, because if you go to Kyoto, so the major transport modes are city buses and the subways, so you can use one pass for the both methods, and they are collecting tax money from city tax from the accommodation based on the price of the accommodation, but when we go to the Venice, it's quite different. They are collecting garbage for several times per day, and they are promoting hand-free sightseeing. Now you don't want to take your big luggages with you when you're traveling in Kyoto, so you can send your big luggage to the hotel directly for reasonable price, so you can put into the coin locker. And very recently they introduced a special express sighting buses, I mean last year onwards. So you can directly get the bus to go to the city, the attraction from the city center. And they are keen on promoting different seasons like winter and the summer and the unpopular destinations to manage these overcrowd issues. Here's the conclusion from this study. Basically, so a large number of strategies are taken by both cities to manage overtourism. So most of them are common strategies like awareness and training programs, impose taxes, manage mobility, manage displacement, waste. So they are common strategies. So, but when you go deeper, so their weight of the strategies can be quite different. Like Venice giving much higher weight on the imposed policies and regulations based on their situations, and while Kyoto is based on the awareness program. I will explain them. So these are the lessons learned from the previous slide. So basically, Kyoto, they are conducting researchers to identify the real situation and changing the policies according to the situation. One good example is the €5 entry free. They did the pilot survey last year and going to start from implement this from this year. And regulate and monitor the short-term rental houses. It become a very common problem for all the over-touristed destinations nowadays. And impose tax to collect tax money from different ways. And especially they reuse this tax money for the local development, local projects like educational project, waste management, public services to enhance the quality of life. Considering to the Kyoto, it's different. So they are providing the awareness program for the travelers, like visitor ethics signage, as you can see here in the right side corner. And by using the different sources like website, posters, leaflet, so many campaigns are going on. Then the mobility management, as I explained, the city buses, and also using the technology to forecast. You can see here in the down picture in the right side. So they are forecast the crowd. So you can decide what time you want to enter to the Kyoto. You can skip the crowded time there, and giving support to the local people directly and indirectly. So here is the recommendation from my study. Like if you are over touristed destination, first you have to do the research, of course, to identify the real situation. Then after, you have to manage the destination in a various way unique to your destination, like mobility, waste, and of course you have to impose taxes. It will help to minimize the number of people and generate the income for the city, and you can give back to the local community to enhance the quality of life. Ultimately, you have to share this information. Otherwise, local community doesn't know what kind of benefit you are taking from tourism. So it is important point. So throughout this whole process, you have to manage the destination marketing. So in an over-touristed destination, sometimes it is important to get the quality travelers than the number of travelers. So position your marketing is really important. Ultimately, you can manage a displacement of the local people to make a sustainable destination. So here are some references, and thank you very much for making this platform to talk about tourism and over-tourism. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Tusita, for your presentation. And our next presenter is Federica Montaguti, Senior Researcher and Lecturer at CISET, International Research Center for Tourism Economics. Her research interests include destination development planning, competitivity and destinations branding. Today, she will talk about visitors management strategies, a different perspective on the so-called visitors entry fee. So her presentation will be deeply connected with the previous one. 続いてのご発表はフェデリカ・モンタグティ氏です。モンタグティ氏は CISET 国際観光経済研究センターにおいて、シニアリセーチャーおよび講師としてご活躍されています。主な研究分野は観光地の開発計画、観光における競争力の分析、そして観光地ブランド戦略などです。本日は観光客マネジメント戦略、いわゆる入場税に関する別の視点と題してご講演いただきます。You can start whenever you want.
Thank you. Good morning from Venice. And a special thank you to the organizers for the invitation to this event. And a special hello to my colleagues from Toyo University there. Hello there. Let me just share my screen, and I hope it works. Just let me know if it is working or not. Can you see it? I hope so. I don't know, I hope so. But I can't see it. Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Okay. So, sorry about the time. Let me start my presentation where Susita left, more or less. It is, if we look at the international context in this moment, we have to say that the pressure that the rapid growing tourism is putting on some destination is fostering a series of comparative studies, not only on problems, but also on solutions and best practices at an international level. This is also why CISET supported CITA. The reason why CISET supported CITA, was involved in supporting CITA for the Venetian side of its research. Besides this, another phenomenon created by this pressure generated by tourism on some first-tier destination is the fact that these destinations are starting to experiment some kind of solutions to manage visitors. I'm saying that we are experimenting because if you think of it, we are basically experimenting on millions of people to see how they will react to a series of stimuli within our specific environment. And all the city don't really know what the results are going to be because basically we are working on, we don't have precedents for this, or if we have very few and in environment which are often not as easy to compare to urban destination, for example, or even islands or other kind of destinations. Today, I would like to focus my presentation on one of these experiments. It has been already introduced a bit by Tusita, and it is the so-called entry fee, access fee, daily visitors fee, or whatever it's been called in many ways, experimented by the city of Venice in 2024, and so the experimentation is also going on in 2025, but I will focus on what's on some aspects emerged in 2024. And I would like to introduce this initiative has been discussed from many different point of views, legal ones, the impact, the effectiveness, and so on. And of course, it is monitored by other destinations to see if they can work for them as well. But I would like to present the experiment from a slight different perspective, which is less known maybe, which is the opportunity that not the fee in itself, but the information, logistic, and organization system created to manage the fee as opened in the perspective of visitors management. This is, if you like, more on like an inside perspective on this because it is allowed by the fact that CISET is supporting the municipality of Venice in analyzing analyzing what these experiments is bringing on for in terms of visitor management. Before I try to show you the opportunities that the system, the access fee system has opened up, let me just recall the basic information about these experiments. The access fee was applied for 29 days in 2024, of which 11 consecutive days, and then only in weekends from May to mid-July. Same days visitors were required to pay a €5 access fee, as Tusita already introduced. Other city users were such as students, commuting workers, or residents from the Veneto regions, and so on, were exempted from the payment of this fee, of course. Tourists, so people staying, choosing to stay in accommodation located within the borders of the city of Venice, were exempted as well, because they are already paying the more traditional, if you like, tourist tax or accommodation tax, as you want to call it. To manage all these, and we are working, of course, as I said before, millions of people, there was the need to create an online platform. Same days visitors registered into the platform to pay the access fee, while the other city users registered there to claim their exemption. Of course, besides creating the platform, the city has also to organize controls at the accesses, at the various access points, monitoring of how the things were going, assistance, on-site booking spots, and all the communication to the whole world on how this was going to work. And this is what I refer to when I talk about the access fee system, the organization, logistic, communication, and then information system that was created to manage all this. The analysis of the data coming from this platform, which from now on I will call the booking system because it might be shorter and easier, and the comparison between the data provided by the booking system and data from other sources such as sensors, cameras, mobile phones tracking, highlighted that the system in itself, in terms of visitor management, might have a potential which is even more interesting than the fee itself. And let me show you some aspects of this potential. First of all, one of the most interesting information emerged while analyzing the booking window. For those who are not familiar with the terminology, the booking windows is the period of time between when a customer makes a reservation. In our case, the moment when they pay the access fee, if they are tourists, if they are same-day visitors, or they claim their exemption if they are tourists. And the moment when the customer actually uses the service. So in our case, the moment they arrive in Venice. As you can see here, In the case of same-day visitors, the booking window is, when it is short, 4 days. And this grew toward the end of the experimentation period up to 7 days on average. This means that same days visitors paid the access fee at least on average 4 days in advance with respect to the date they arrived in Venice. And for tourists, this booking window is even longer because the shortest one is 7 days on average, but it is generally longer and it grows up to 12, 13 days and to 17 days even towards the end of the experimentation period. This means opportunities on two sides. The first one is that basically the need to pay the access or to claim an exemption established the idea that booking is needed in some moments when you are visiting a first-tier destination in a contemporary setting. There have been other solutions to more persuasive and less taxing, and the pun is intended here, to try to convey this idea that a booking was needed and better for everyone, but they've been less, they've been affecting just on a limited share of visitors. The second and even more important opportunities that the booking window analysis showed us is that actually you have the possibility to know at least 4 days in advance how many people can be expected for a specific date. And it is not a forecasting based on estimates, and it might require even long time to have precise enough estimates, but is certainty. And this gives us the possibility to adopt services, plan an increase, for example, for mobility services, pre-alert police, there might be problems, planning crowd management solution, and so on. So far, as to the best of my knowledge, no other city has the possibility to actually know how many people they are going to expect for a certain date 4 days in advance. Another potentiality of the booking of the access fee system emerges from comparing the booking system data with data coming from other sources. As I said, sensors, cameras, and mobile phones tracking data. You can see here, this is a comparison between the data from the booking system and the data from the mobile phone tracking. As you can observe, the distribution of the, in this case, same days visitors per each of the day of the experimentation, and you can see at the beginning there is the 11 consecutive days, is quite consistent. And in the same way, the distribution of tourism, so in this case we are observing exemptions registered in the booking systems, and again, mobile phones tracking data. And again, the distribution, as you can see, is consistent. And this shows another potential value added of the system, which is the fact that we can, on the one side, the booking system, the access fee system can collect data on visitors, and that we can then compare with all the data. And in this way, we can kind of tune in all different kind of sources and then get more reliable and accurate data from all the different sources. And the other aspect is that it provides information on segments such as 10 days visitors, which usually we have information about just from a few sources, maybe just from telco data, and not some. We don't have so much information, far less than we have about, for example, tourists. And these data are owned by the city. They don't have to pay to get them. Besides this, and besides the fact that the system seems to be able to allow us to know in advance how many people we can expect for a certain date, even if it is not an event date, which in that case is easier to know. Another opportunity opened up by the access fee system is that this system opens a direct communications channels with visitors. With every single visitor in a way. There are no tour operators, no accommodation, no OTA, and so on to filter the communication. Again, there are other solutions you can try to open up these communication channels that have been tried, such as cards, apps, but usually, again, they are effective just on a share of the visitors. Not only it opens up a direct communication, but it allows you to distinguish which kind of city users are they. And so this gives us the opportunity to convey important information, basic rules, which for some reason seems everywhere in the world very difficult to convey. Advice about mobility problems, for example, and other aspects, and allows us to get this information target on the city user profile. So I hope I have been able to show you how, in a way, the system around the access fee or created to manage it, if you want, might be, from a visitors management point of view, even more interesting than the fee itself as a tool. If I manage to show you a different perspective of this, and you raise your attention and interest on this theme, on this topic, and you have comments, questions, and so on, I am here to discuss it with you. And thank you very much again for the invitation, and I hope to stay in touch from now on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Federica. I know it's very late in Italy, but if you want to stay until the Q&A, it would be very appreciated. Our next speaker is joining us via Zoom as well, directly from Venice. He's Damiano De Marchi from Ca' Foscari University of Venice. Just like Federica, we sincerely thank you for being with us today, despite the inconvenient hour due to the time difference. Damiano is an adjunct professor of tourism marketing and e-tourism at Ca' Foscari University, and he currently works as project manager for sustainable tourism initiatives at the VSF Foundation. He also coordinates tourism data team in Almaviva. His presentation is titled Tourism, Overtourism, E-Tourism, How Technology Empowers Smart and Sustainable Destinations. 次の発表者は Zoom を通じて、 通じてベネチアからご参加いただいておりますカフォスカリ・ベネチア大学のダミアーノ・デ・マルキ先生です。先ほどの発表者と同様に時差の関係で不便な時間帯にもかかわらずご参加くださり心より感謝申し上げます。デ・マルキ先生はカフォスカリ大学でツーリズムマーケティングおよび e ツーリズムの非常勤教授を務めておられます。本日の発表のタイトルはツーリズム、オーバーツーリズム、e ツーリズム、テクノロジーがスマートでステナブルな観光地をどう支えるのかというタイトルでございます。Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I think you can hear me and you can see my screen. If not, let me know. So buongiorno from Venice. The light is coming up, the sun is rising. I'm very pleased to be here, even remotely, and grateful for this opportunity. I wanted to create a presentation that would be kind of a gift from Italy to you. So it's like un chant d'amour dedicated to tourism, an industry and economic sector to which we are all dedicating our time today, even at during the night, the Italian night, and to which I have devoted more than 20 years of my life. In the Italian matter, it's an opera, very short opera, don't worry, in 3 acts in the style of Dante Alighieri that begins by briefly descending in search of tourists' deep at roost, then emerging to scale the challenges of over-tourism, finally arriving at the heaven of the e-tourism solutions with the finale that is the culmination of my current research, hoping that the journey will be as pleasant for you as it will be for me. I would say that without further ado, we can begin. So, primo atto, the first act, is about tourism. I'm perfectly aware the definition of tourism is imprinted in your DNA, just at the receipt of onigiri. So I just want you to underline a direct consequence. Tourism and tourists are different entities. When we view tourism from an hotel room window, no matter how comfortable the location or magnificent is the view, but we must be absolutely aware that we are seeing tourism from a privileged but partial perspective. It's partial because 2 other elements that complete the tourist apple are missing. Tourists who don't stay in hotel or other official accommodation establishment, and excursionists who don't stay overnight at all. And this is particularly interesting and related to the topic of today, which is over-tourism. In Italy, excursionism currently accounts for about a third of international tourist arrivals, a share slightly declining in recent years, and about a half of domestic trips by Italians. The weight of excursionism for a single destination can increase significantly in relation to the change of the perspective analysis. It is possible to relativize the concept of excursionism with respect of the place visited and consequently increasing the category of excursionists, proper, improper, in transit, bows, and so on. So at destination level, this is crucial, and it's crucial to be aware of the excursionist phenomenon. For Venice, for example, this means dealing with 5 million tourist arrivals yearly in registered accommodation within the municipality territory, but an estimated 30 million people visiting Venice, accommodated not only in the metropolitan surroundings, but also hundreds of kilometers away. Focusing the analysis just on tourists, therefore, becomes particularly incomplete in terms of the strategic and operational choices of individual destination, which instead must have an increasing awareness of the visitor mix. And this is true not only for the main destination as Venice, but also to rural destinations, since a transversal aspect of tourism emerged both from the study of the place visited and the origin of the flows, the theme of concentration. You saw from Roberta Garibaldi some numbers. I provide you some other numbers, but the idea is the same. 70% of international flows are concentrated in a territory in Italy that constitutes less than 1% of the Italian surface area, represented by 10 municipalities, even more, considering just the first 5 municipalities, Rome, Venice, Florence, Milan, and Naples. We already have around two-thirds of the nights spent by foreigners in Italy on cultural holiday, which means over 80 million overnight stays. And also, as you can see, the search market of international tourist cultural trip. The first 5 markets represent more than 55% of the flow. So this is the idea that is beneath the idea of overtourism, and we will see in the third act some solution even to tackle or at least to analyze this phenomenon. So, secondo atto, the second act is about overtourism. We all are all aware, as we heard before, that overtourism is something existing, but nowadays, in these weeks, in these months, there is a, let's say, a surreal discussion in Italy about overtourism, a strong debate about the very existence of overtourism, with many tourist institutions questioning the problem of overtourism and the very existence of the concept. I don't want to be like Niobe, that is carved, as you can see, in the courtyard of the Ca' Foscari University where I teach, being proud and silly and foolish when I think that from Venice, which is the universal paradigm of overtourism, in all academic and scientific publication and all the media narratives focused on overtourism, Venice sparing, but I would like to affirm that overtourism exists, and it exists for the whole amount of academic research, models, and definition. I will not, of course, go through them because maybe you already know them and we don't have time for this, but also for the different aspect that overtourism shows: overcrowding in public spaces, leading to pervasiveness of visitors' impact due to inappropriate behavior, touristification of city centers and other well-visited places, even some rural areas. And all these factors are led to the second aspect, the second characteristic of overtourism, which is conflicts, a growing conflict between residents and visitors in public and private spaces due to less availability of housing, loss of sense of community, and so on, and consequently reducing the level of satisfaction, which is the third characteristic of overtourism, both for visitors and for residents. And this is adding additional elements of conflicts, not only between residents and visitors, but also between different segments and typologies of visitors in destination themselves. What happens at the destination level then has a significant repercussion for the whole destination image and the single elements like accommodation, food and beverage, and so on. And then we go to the main part of this presentation, terzo atto, tourism, the third and final act. Since tourism is the core, since technologies in this field has become an indispensable ally. Tourism is the process of applying ICT solution to tourist production, aiming to digitalize and virtualize the tourist product service and its components. Computer science supports the transmission of value through information, which evolves in the relationship with demand mediated by ICT, information communication technology solutions that act as a bidirectional synapses. The strategic generation and use of data nourish every subsequent development and implementation. And I'm reading and I'm presenting you this brand new definition of tourism, which was published like 2 months ago. The tourist sector symbiotic interaction with technology has been transforming the industry, which has been trying to constantly adopt and benefit from new technological advancements. ICTs have profound implication for the management of the tourism industry in few other economic activity, the generation, the gathering, the processing, the application, and even the communication of information is important as in tourism for day-to-day operation. And information is, we can call it the lifeblood of the travel industry. So effective use of ICT is pivotal. And as you can see, I tried also to show that this process, this symbiotic combination between tourism and ICT has a history that begins long before internet. And it's related also to the drivers that are the main reasons why we are using technology in tourism. Of course, the first one that started even in the 60s and in the late 60s and the 70s with GRS, computer reservation system, and then global distribution system was the product supply facilitation, the provision of the tourist product service and its components is the first driver, the first founding reason of tourism and the first application with respect of technologies. And then when internet and the advent of the web in fact caused the issue of information to explode. First of all, it made it possible for visitor, customer to access a range of information that was previously precluded. Web 1.0, subsequently making themselves generators of shared content, user generating content through blogs, social media, Web 2.0, and using this enormous amount of data to improve the connection with the needs and requests of the visitor, customer themselves. Web 3.0, which we can call it, we are in the last part and we are trying to enter in the new area of artificial intelligence. So this part is giving other drivers of tourism. So the second driver is enhancing the experience, and the third driver as well, personalizing, since the data are mostly generated by the people themselves, are helping the tourist offer to enhance the experience and personalize the product tourist service. And we are, as I said, in the current phase, Web 4.0, where the interaction between man and machines is tightened in an always active connection. And the bringing artificial intelligence application into immersive experience of virtual scenario. The fourth driver of tourism, increasing immersion through the virtualization of the individual components of the product service. And the idea is, especially when we are talking about smart and smart and sustainable destination, we are talking about we need to use the huge amount of data that has been produced. As you can see, 220 zettabytes, which is a number of bytes compared to the estimation of the number of stars that we estimate in the universe. So a huge amount of data, just the 10% is structured, and the use of data is super important for destination. And of course, we are switching also from the definition of a tourist to the definition of smart tourism, which is mostly connected to the application of a tourist to destination. A smart tourist destination is defined as a destination facilitating access to tourism and hospitality products. You can see the definition here, and it's also related to the concept, to the brighter concept of smart city, which is especially applied to cultural destinations, since urban areas are the ones facing the more important challenges between resident and visitor, and as I said, between different typologies of visitors. I will give you three very short examples how we in Venice are tackling and using ICT to tackle over-tourism. The first one is using passive mobile data. Passive mobile data can provide useful information at the beginning to identify which is called the usual environment, which is very connected to the very the first slide that I show you, the definition of what tourist is, but also to understand the behaviors of the people without asking them anything. So using passive mobile data, we were able to define what is Venice in real, which is the city that is defined by the people, which is how globally now the researchers and even in some cases the government are using the way are used to define cities above administrative boundaries. So Venice is not just the Rialto San Marco, is not just the island, is not even the municipality, but Venice is a urban area which we estimated about 1 million people present every day, which we call it functional Venice, which is defined by the people that daily moving around the area. And of course, different kind of city users is the dichotomy between resident and visitors, which is the narrative, actual narrative of Venice, is lacking, is missing of other people, commuters, students, other citizens, transit, and so on, which constitutes like about 30-35% of the people present every day in the city, and also a Venice that is breathing like every kind of tourist destination breathing. So over 2,000 people during the day and less than 90 people during the night. And also, as we saw at the beginning, this touristic area defined by the excursionist is like a magnet which at the center as Venice, whose boundaries are moving and are over not only the boundaries of the municipality of the region, but even in some cases the boundaries of Italy. This is very, very important when you have to manage destination, and also using this data, I will not of course go in detail with this, is helping also to define a carrying capacity. This is no longer a limit, but is becoming like a range between, as we saw and as we experienced in Venice, between the Venice super crowded and the Venice empty during the COVID restriction. And the third example is tackling sustainability, so defining sustainability using the user-generated content, which is part of our everyday smart life, especially when we are on holiday, even during the in loco phase, so when we are into destination. The use of this data, reviews, comments, likes, and so on, can be used to derive data that usually can feed a model that we have developed in this paper. Is everything online if you want to approach it. And we were able to define data combined with other sources to get sub-indicator. As you can see, the spread of over-tourism through the not only the municipality of Venice, but the whole province, the air quality, how it's changing between winter and summer, and also suburban dynamics, for example, for some activities which are very difficult to be monitored, like the short-term rentals activity, which is a very, let's say, hot topic for urban destination in Italy, and not only. So I will go to the finale, to the final part, just to give you a hint of what is the research I'm working on, since I was talking about the tourists, like digitalizing and also virtualizing the tourist project, the tourist product. So in my opinion, when we are talking about e-tourism, now we are talking about tourism. So when we are talking about tourism, we should talk about tourism. Tourism is a demand-based sector by its definition. So it's intrinsically linked to demand behaviors. This allows it to acquire and in certain cases promote the consequences of mass phenomena before others. And the methods of computer science, informatica, deeply influence how people relate to actual reality. And we see that people has changed a lot in the terms of we are facing ourselves through destination via mediated devices. This is a collection of pictures that I'm taking on Rialto Bridge. Since I'm working in Venice, I have to cross it at least twice a day. So my idea is that the tourist gaze that was developed by Harry in the 90s and early the years of this century is not just related to how we have to point out where the gaze, where the sight, where the eye of our customers, of our visitor are pointing out, but also that when the selfie, so when the visitor itself became the main character of his experience, the destination, the beautiful destination that we have here in Venice is just a landscape. So this is lacking in terms of the relation with the physical product and is bringing up opportunities to relate to virtual products. And nowadays, entertainment industry for video games and so on is working on this direction and is likely to be in an opportunity to be in time to create not only components of virtual products, but virtual tourist products themselves. So for anyone that wants to go in deep with this kind of, let's say, not only researches, but also future view, can have a look at this book. It's available anywhere, and anyone that wants to keep in touch, I give you here my contact. So thank you very much. Grazie, arigato to anyone there.
Thank you, Damiano. And now the next presentation is by Daniela Campora, Vice President of AITR, the Italian Association for Responsible Tourism. She also serves as the coordinator of the DEI and Accessible Working Group, as well as the Gender Tourism Lab, which supports inspiring female entrepreneurs in the field of responsible tourism. Her talk, which is a registered video, is titled Best Friend for Hosts and Guests, Responsible Tourism. 続いては AITR イタリアのレスポンシブルツーリズム協会副会長のダニエラ・カンポラ氏によるご発表です。カンポラ氏は DEI 多様性、公平性、包摂性およびアクセシビリティに関するワーキンググループのコーディネーターを務めているほか、責任ある観光分野における女性起業家の育成を支援するジェンダーツーリズムラボも主催されています。ビデオレジストレーションによるご講演のタイトルは、観光地にも観光客にもフレンドリー、レスポンシブルツーリズムの勧めとなります。どうぞご覧ください。
Buongiorno a tutti, konnichiwa. Hi everybody, my name is Daniela Campora and I am the Vice President of the Italian Association for Responsible Tourism. That is the oldest active alliance in Europe dealing with responsible tourism. What does it mean? In 1998, we started a reflection on the critical aspects of tourism. At the time, the concept of responsible tourism and overcrowded places were almost unheard of. Then we stated our mission and a definition that underlines some principal aspects. First one, respect of social and economic justice, environment and different cultures. Second, recognize the central role of the local host community. Third, create positive interaction between tourism industry, local communities and travelers. That's why we have 100 members, both profit and non-profit, all diverse, but all committed to responsible tourism. NGOs, large and small operators, from tour operators to hospitality industry, cultural associations, publishing houses. Moreover, in these 25 years, AITR realized documents and guidelines about responsible tourism. In our recent position paper on overtourism, covered by international press, ITR deems overtourism a profound vexation, eroding authenticity and fueled by short-term rentals. While affirming the right to practice tourism, we stress solutions shouldn't create exclusive clubs. Tourism is for all. What about governance and communication? Local administration must ditch the generic public symbols promotion, transmitting their meaning mainly through the site, and instead whispering about quieter seasons and delightful lesser-known gems, the fields of care that evoke affection and can be experienced with an intimate connection and slower time, involving all sensory organs. And also agencies, travel bloggers, guides and tourism journalists should support this renewed vision. They deserve a new responsibility, not much discussed until now. Crucially, local communities deserve a voice and should address governance, their needs and proposals. But also if communities would like to attract tourism in the right regenerative way, they need to go further, restoring in their places the nowadays apparently lost magic of tourism. The Japanese faculty Ishin Denshin with host could properly apply here, something that goes beyond empathy. What the mind thinks, the earth transmits, the communication of thoughts without using words, to preserve authenticity, ensuring towns remains homes and not endless rental listings. I let you with a suggestion. Could we find solution to overtourism in a form not purely antagonistic, but collaborative, let's say in a more inclusive Oriental vision? Thank you so much for your kind attention. Grazie per la vostra attenzione. Domo arigatou gozaimasu.
Thanks, Daniela. And our final speaker for this intense and thought-provoking morning session is Chiara Rita Napolitano, who will offer us some reflections from a perspective that goes beyond traditional tourism studies. As a JSPS postdoctoral research fellow at Kyoto University, her research focuses on Japanese vernacular architecture, anthropology of domestic spaces, and cultural symbolism. The title of her presentation is Displaced Houses, the Effects of Overtourism on Kyoto's Machiya. この充実した午前のセッションを締めくくってくださるのは、キャラ・リタ・ナポリタノ氏です。観光学の枠を超えた視点から私たちに新たな示唆を与えてくれるご発表となると思います。ナポリタノ氏は現在京都大学において日本学術振興会ポスドクターフェローとして日本の伝統的建築、住空間の人類学、文化的象徴性などをテーマに研究されています。本日のご講演のタイトルはDisplaced Houses、オーバーツーリズムが京都の町家に及ぼす影響となります。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Thank you very much. And just a brief moment to thank the organizing committee of this workshop. It's a great pleasure and honor to be joining you today. So, as the title of my presentation suggests, my main research focus is Kyoto and the effect of overtourism on the built environment. So, I will be presenting a case study from my research, and hopefully I will offer another perspective on the response to overtourism, stemming from a grass-rooted response from community and neighborhoods in Kyoto. So before starting, just a quick note on the terminology. What is Kyomachiya? Kyomachiya is a word that is made of the kanji for Kyoto and machiya, which is basically a kind of townhouse, folk dwellings that is present all over Japan, with the exception of Hokkaido, but is present in the highest concentration in Kyoto. Originally, machiya were found also in Osaka, but mostly were destroyed after World War II, fortunately. In 2017, the Kyomachiya Jorei from Kyoto administration basically defined machiya as a structure that must have been built before 1950 and display some kind of traditional features, such as the mushikomado, that kind of window, or koshi, that kind of lattice that you see over there. Right now, machiya are considered very specific traits of Kyoto urban landscape, and not only on pamphlet, but also sometimes on field literature, they are defined as traditional townhouses. With the usage of this term, traditional, there is very evocative, but also highly problematic, and we will go back to this topic in a moment. I think you are already highly familiar with the concept of place image and place branding, since you are from the field of tourist studies. But just to sketch a brief definition, place image refers to the sum of beliefs and assumption, impression, and so on that people hold about a place, especially people that do not reside permanently in that place. And it originates from a wider array of influences, like personal experiences, word of mouth, the social media production, and so on. Place branding, on the other hand, is a more deliberate and strategic process that comes from the intention of public institution and sometimes also marketing professional, which aims to attract a specific audience. For instance, tourists, but also investors or exchange students. Think about Singapore in Asia, apart from Japan. Now, it's not just about creating a slogan or a logo, but more about fostering a coherent image of a place that can resonate both intellectually and culturally, emotionally with the targeting audience. Kyoto and Tokyo in Japan both engage with place branding, projecting two complementary but also opposite identities. And this juxtaposition actually reinforces the mutual association. So Kyoto is presented and actually actively brands herself as the place of tradition and cultural heritage, while on the other hand, Tokyo is the symbol of modernity and the future of Japan. So, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the term tradition and traditional is a highly problematic word, but it's used and leveraged a lot by the tourist investors in order to create some expectation, to nurture some expectation in the visitors and tourists that come to Kyoto. But what kind of tradition are we actually referring to when we talk about the built environment in Kyoto? The standardization of the vernacular traits in most of folk dwellings actually happened in the Edo period, which is a time frame in Japan that, as you probably know, roughly aligns with the Sakoku period. The Sakoku period is a time frame in which Japan was basically closed, and not many foreigners were allowed to enter the country, with some exception. So in the collective imaginary, the Edo period became known as a kind of pristine area in which Japan was free from the influence of the West and Westernization. We know that it was not actually like that. We had some influence in the medicine, in the paintings, and so on. But compared to what would happen during the Meiji renovation, actually it was kind of free from the Western influence. So in the collective imaginary, Edo period became a conceptual container from which to draw symbols and tradition that could be used to strengthen the image of a Japanese kokoro, a Japanese authenticity. Now, this link between the Edo period, the built environment that was actually standardized during the Edo period, and the notion of tradition actually creates an expectation and actually nurtures the word tradition, and is used by the tourist market to create an image. How does the tourist market in Kyoto specifically leverage folk dwellings? We have different layers according to how much the tourist can actually engage with the space. The first layer is the one that basically focuses on the facade of the machi and folk dwellings with an approach that has been defined facadism. So just focusing on the appearance to create a traditional landscape. In this phase, in this first layer, the visitors can actually engage with the space, but just on a very shallow level, because there is not actually a direct contact between the people living in Machiya and the tourists. There is just walking around and strolling around. The second one actually allows for a little bit of contact and is the level where Machiya and other kind of folk dwellings are renovated and transformed into economic spaces, commercial spaces. In this case, the tourist is allowed to enter and to engage with the space for a brief time. There is the one needed to consume the product. The third layer, which is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting, is the one that allows the tourist to experience the domestic environment by actually residing for a short time inside renovated facilities. Now, if an owner, Machiya owner, wants to convert his or her property into a lodging, they have to keep in mind that there are both national laws and Kyoto laws that needs to be respected. And basically there are three possibilities: ryokan, minpaku, and kanin shukusho. A ryokan is defined as a facility consisting of a Japanese-style structure, which is a kind of a vague definition. You have to picture tatami rooms, shoji, wooden structure, and so on. Minpaku, on the other hand, is defined as a private lodging that provides accommodation for a fee. If you have used before Airbnb or other platform like that, you know what Minpaku basically are. Finally, kanin shukusho are defined as facilities in which a portion of the space is shared amongst users, so share houses, guest houses, youth hostels, and so on. Amongst these three, the one that created most troubles for Japanese communities in Kyoto were minpaku, because they were not included originally in the Inside Hotels Act, so they were not illegal but irregular. This means that in 2017 they had to pass a law that targeted minpaku, because they were starting to have a lot of troubles with this kind of lodgings opening in very narrow streets within small communities and neighborhood, and basically disrupting the everyday life of people residing in Kyoto. Now, I won't go into details because the presentation before mine have addressed what kind of troubles tourists can cause to people living in Kyoto, but I would say that these are especially difficult to tangle for people that reside in conservative neighborhoods, because they are not really used to foreigners that do not speak Japanese. So what happened is that in 2017 this law passed, and now if you search for accommodation on Airbnb in Kyoto, you will not find anything, basically. The closest is Shiga Prefecture. So I would like to end the presentation with a very specific case study from my research, the area of Higashiyama. Higashiyama is an area that is situated in the eastern part of Kyoto that resembles a little bit of a penguin. That's how it's presented on the website of Kyoto administration. And it's actually one of the places where the population is striking really high. And also the aging percentage is higher than the average of Kyoto, which means that the effect of tourism in this part of Kyoto are especially strong. I will focus on this area in the red circle, which is called Rokuhara. Is a district, a school district that is close to most of Meisho, must-see places like the Kiyomizu-dera, the Sanju Sangendo, and so on, and is also well connected to other parts of the cities. So it's a very important place for tourist investors. Originally, Rokuhara was not a tourist destination. In fact, it was a residential area, and very few lodgings were inside the school district. Since 2013, the city hotels in Kyoto reached full capacity, and then with the passing of the law about Minpaku, basically they had to expand and penetrate inside the residential areas. So from 2013 up until today, there have been some very notable changes in the area of Rokuhara. First, there have been some kind of improvements, like the appearance of the area. There is cleaner, the streets have names now, and they are also more ornated. This could be considered a kind of beautification, which is a process that focuses on the appearance and the aesthetics without really tangling the issues of people residing in the area. There has also been a change in the social milieu of Rokuhara with basically two patterns that I have seen coming in my interviews. Basically, the first pattern is when landowners that have a folk dwelling evict the residents and build a tourist facility or convert the machiya into a lodging. The second one is when the landowner sells the property to a third part, which is often a private enterprise, and then proceeds to evict the residents. Another layer of complication is the fact that these enterprises often are foreign, so they are based in Taiwan and in China, which creates another layer of tension between people. What are the long-term consequences? First, a rise in the land prices. One tsubo, which is basically 3.3 square meters, costed about 100,000 yen in 2012, but by 2016, the price had more than doubled. This has led to a kind of tourism gentrification on the explanation that we have heard before. Many researchers actually argue that there are no gentrification processes in Kyoto, but I think that the feeling of being expelled from the school district because the land is becoming pricey and also the services are changing can be referred to this kind of gentrification. Finally, also the cultural meaning of machiya and folk dwellings is changing because they are being more and more associated with the presence of tourists. Now, for the final part, what is actually the answer of the community? We have seen up until now actually the response of administration, but I would like to point out that also community and neighborhoods can actually promote grassrooted answer. So basically, the Rokuhara Jinjiren Gokai is an association that guides the 33 Chonaikai, or neighborhood association of Rokuhara, and has decided to keep to try and keep Rokuhara residential area, while acknowledging the benefits that the tourists have brought. This translates into the constitution of the Minpaku Bukai, which is an association that monitors the Minpaku activities and makes sure that they have all the permits to stay legal. They've also started a mediation activity between the tourist agents and investors and the small businesses that had to reorient the offers when the tourists started to come. And finally, they've also implemented the self-rules, which means that basically the Minpaku and the the properties that are found in the narrow streets and in the smallest neighborhood, they have decided to make a pact among the owners not to sell or rent to tourism investors. Provisional conclusion of my presentation. Right now, the concept of tradition that is embodied by the folk dwellings is an economic asset for the tourism market, of course, but it's also a proof, in a way, and serves the purpose of reassuring Japanese people about the existence of an actual authentic national culture, which is the reason why many tourists that uses machiya in Kyoto are also Japanese. They are not only foreigners. Traditional dwellings are leveraged by the tourist market through basically a three-tiered system, as I explained before, which varies with the engagement that is allowed amongst tourists and space. And finally, even though their employment in the tourism market has brought some kind of benefits and has also avoided many machiya, the fate of destruction, basically, there is some kind of a sense of displacement that we have seen before, and a kind of gap between the property and the people that are actually residing in that houses. I think that apart from the act of the administration and all the provisions that can be actually implemented and alleviate this situation, also the response from the community is a strong ally in deciding what is best for the neighborhood communities. So thank you very much for your attention. This is selected bibliography.
Thank you, Chiara. You can stay here for the Q&A time. I would now like to ask to Roberta Garibaldi and to Sita and Chieko-san, if you want, but also if they are still connected, from Federica and Damiano, to start the Q&A. No? The Q&A, so we open the floor to dozo. To open the floor for discussion, questions from the floor. じゃあ質疑タイムに入ります。コメント、質問などがありましたらご遠慮なく声をおかけください。
If you have some questions for the speakers, if you want to go in deep in something, or it's quite late and you are a little bit hungry, and then we can do everything else, because yes, it's almost 1, and so qualche domanda? Flaminia, Elisabetta. Federica, vai, dai, rompi il ghiaccio.
Thank you very much. It's just a comment, maybe on the vision of the different interventions, starting from the presentation of the topic from Roberta Garibaldi and all the different interventions, and this very interesting approach, Venice and Kyoto, interpretation of the topic of overtourism. It was very rich. Thank you very much. Probably we could tell that this first session was about solutions. So because we have a problem and we try to face it with some different kinds of solutions. It was very interesting to see how many disciplines can discuss to each other and to bring many solutions, more on the management level, more on the ICTs and technological level, more the economic taxes level in Venice, but also from the landscape and architectural level. So I think, just to resume and to give a closure of this session, we could say that we need transdisciplinary approaches for complex problems. So you very well demonstrated how without a transdisciplinary approach, we cannot face complex problems. So thank you very much.
You spoke at the beginning. What do you say at the end of this session? What is a new point of view, perhaps, that you saw in this session? Something that you can bring home from what is happening here? And I have to say also thank you to you. It was very, very interesting presentation, and very interesting to see the comparing between the world of Venice and the world of Kyoto is an example of what we can do linking our university, our research. And it's fantastic to see an Italian girl that is working here in the University of Kyoto. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for everyone. So I think it's a good platform us to talk about the tourism and the overtourism. So especially all the organizers, thank you very much. So I would like to take this chance to thanks for the CISET Research Institute, Professor Federica as well, for giving the opportunity to make this kind of comparison in between Japan and Venice, because this is the very good topic and the key word in the world nowadays. So everyone is talking about the tourism and the overtourism. So thank you very much for all the supports everyone, and hope we will have a good sustainable destinations all around the world in the future. Thank you.
I want to ask Federica, what do you think about AI? What we can obtain from the applying of AI in the next 2 or 3 years? What kind of improvement could we have with this?
Federica, attenta che ti ascolto, eh?
We have Damiano too, and so you can speak together regarding this important topic. I think that could be really something that will help us in a very important way for our future.
Well, sure there is a lot of potential there. And we can obtain a lot in terms of forecasting, but also in terms of speeding up some aspects of communication if we have an open channel from that point of view. In the case of AI, one of the problems basically in this case, and I just briefly underline it, I think, while discussing during my presentation, is that we need reliable data to train the system. Otherwise, we will have just garbage out as usual with any kind of system. So I think that on the one side, and we need reliable data on a couple of sides, I think. One, which is the most obvious one, if you like, is that we need reliable data then to have, for example, forecasting on how many people we can expect and where and so on. But also we need, as destinations, we need reliable data to feed into the AI in the moment that tourists ask for information. And this is, so far, I think, a kind of not so much underlined problem. Because as far as tourists will ask more and more kind of information and also use AI to assist them in organizing their trips, if the AI is not trained with reliable data coming from the destination, and so on, it will answer with the data they find. And this, I think, this is a kind of a very, very important topic, because in this moment we have people arriving in Venice, for example, but also in Kyoto and all the Bali and all the destinations in the world without not even realizing that there's water there, in a way. So what happens if we don't provide information for these systems as well, when they will be the ones organizing, basically organizing the trip. So I think this is another side that maybe is less underlined attention at the moment. But it will be very, very important. It will be important for businesses, but even more for destinations, because just imagining what happens if some AI assistant provides fake, wrong information about an already overcrowded destination.
Thank you.
Extremely important, but not only from the point of view of forecasting.
Thank you. And then Damiano is with us, so I have to ask to him the same question. I know that you deeply analyze AI and the potentiality of this. And so
I know that you want to go for lunch, so I will not bother you. Just saying that AI is between us. We are using AI every day in many, many ways. And since it's one of the reasons I wrote this book. In Italy, we are at the least position in Europe in terms of basic digital skills. So we need to know how to use these devices that we are using every day and also to interpret the information, since, as Federica was saying, information is the key of tourism and, of course, the key how to feed AI. What is interesting is that the new evolution of AI, since they are complex system, is bringing up solution that AI is developing itself. It's very interesting how AI is developing, so we have to follow this revolution that is really, really bringing us to another level of interaction with our customers and visitors. Thank you very much. Grazie a tutti.
Thank you. Do you use AI in Kyoto to help organizing the tourism flows? Do you know if
yes, actually,
you already use it?
Yes, in Kyoto and I think all around the world nowadays using the big data. So even for my research, we have considered about the big data analysis and how we can identify the use for the forecasting. So apart from that, nowadays the AI and augmented reality. So as the previous presenter explained, so now we don't want to go to the real destination. Sometimes people don't want to flying for hours and hours to experience the real thing. So yes. Even in Japan and most of the destinations, they are using the AI nowadays for especially for the crowd management and providing a special unique experience for the travelers. So I think that is one good way to even control the number of hits as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Probably this is the last question. I will ask something to Chiara. I know you are not undertaking a comparative perspective, but being the workshop about comparing Italy and Japan, when you were talking about Mattia in Kyoto, probably because I am proudly from the south of Italy, I had Naples in mind. So what happens to the basso, the warehouses in the old city that now has been gentrified and became like restaurants and places, Airbnb kind of accommodation places. So the question is this, and I would like you to answer in a haiku because we are run out of time. Is there any kind of participative action undertaken by Neapolitan citizens like Kyoto has doing in these days, or it just happens without people doing anything to control or to participate in this process, if you know anything about that?
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting topic, and actually there are some similarities between kind of Machiya, Nagaya, and the basso in type of architecture in Naples, because they are both not very they don't have many sun that can actually pierce through the walls. They have problems with ventilation. So there are a lot of similarities between these two kind of structures, but also the lifestyle, the images that are attached to these places are different. So there is a kind of touristification of the Basso experience in Naples, but is a totally different kind of commercialization, so to say. Because in the case of Naples, unfortunately, they are much more bounded, linked to the image of TV series La Gomorra, for instance, and other kind of TV series that present Naples as difficult, problematic, and dangerous cities. So experiencing the Basso life is for the tourist a way to enter into the imaginary of their TV programs. Instead, Macchia is a totally different kind of experiences, of course. Regarding your question, from what I know, having lived in Naples up until 12 months ago, basically no, but to be fair, it's also because a lot of money are made from buildings and inhabiting solutions that were not considered helpful before that. So many people don't want to actually tackle the boat that is carrying so much money for them. So up until now, no, nothing as structured and systematic as what's happening in Kyoto is happening in Naples, fortunately.
Thank you, Chiara. So I will just say that the morning session is over, and I invite you to join us for the light lunch that will be served by Italy in this room, I think. Yeah, it will be ready in a couple of minutes. Please be patient for 5 minutes.